Are we alone in the solar system? In the search for life elsewhere in the solar system, most scientists have considered the planet Mars to have the most potential. Yet to date, all attempts to find traces of life on our neighbor have failed. Although there is hope that life might be found there someday, Mars lacks one thing considered essential to life: abundant sources of liquid water. For this reason, scientists are looking towards other potential life-bearing worlds, the icy moons of Jupiter and Saturn. Whereas Mars appears to be an extremely dry world, some of the moons in question have astounding amounts of water. For example, Jupiter's moons Europa and Callisto have roughly 2 times and 5 times as much liquid water as Earth, respectively. Some other moons, such as Saturn's tiny moon Enceladus, though possessing much less water than Earth in absolute terms, nevertheless have enough liquid water to harbor life. In fact, among the larger moons of the outer planets, large amounts of water seem to be the norm rather than the exception. If water were the only requirement for living things, then these moons would already be prime candidates in the search for extraterrestrial life. However, another necessary element is energy. In the past, the remote moons of the outer planets were considered to be too far away from the sun and too cold to sustain life. For comparison, the strength of solar energy reaching Jupiter is less than 5% of that reaching Earth. But in the last few decades, numerous space probes have revealed that the moons are geologically active, producing a great deal of internal heat. Many evolutionary biologists believe that life on Earth first arose deep in the sea near just such hot, geologically active areas. The same conditions appear to be present on these distant moons, giving fuel to the hope that life may exist there as well. Among the various moons, the one that arouses the most interest is Europa, the 4th largest moon of Jupiter. Although the surface of Europa is covered with a kilometers-thick layer of ice, there is good reason to believe that it has a deep ocean of water underneath. The most compelling evidence is jets of water that have been observed exploding into space through cracks in the planet's surface. A space mission to sample and analyze this spray, thought to come from deep within Europa's ocean, has already been scheduled for the 2020s. If all goes according to plan, the spacecraft Europa Clipper will fly through one of the plumes and look for any traces of life. An even more ambitious project for the following decade is currently being discussed: a mission to land a robot on the surface of Europa and look for evidence of life in the ice itself. In addition, recent space missions to Jupiter and Saturn have made scientists take a second look at other icy worlds besides Europa. Perhaps the most intriguing body is Enceladus, a tiny moon orbiting the planet Saturn. Despite its small size, only 500 kilometers in diameter, Enceladus is believed to have a substantial liquid ocean under its icy exterior. Like Europa, Enceladus appears to be shooting jets of water into space. The spacecraft Cassini, when analyzing these jets, detected minerals mixed with the water. This is significant because it indicates that the jets were produced by volcanic activity under the ice. If this is true, then Enceladus possesses, in theory, the conditions to support simple life. Whereas Enceladus is a small, Ganymede is enormous in more ways than one. It is not only the largest moon of Jupiter, but is also estimated to have a more liquid water than any other body in the solar system, approximately 18 times that among found on Earth. Scientists now believe that older an icy crust more than 100 kilometers thick is it an ocean of salt water 150 to 250 kilometers deep. In 2033, a spacecraft called the Jupiter Icy Moons Explorer, or JUICE for short, will go into orbit around Ganymede. While the space mission will provide extensive information about the moon, it is also so certain that, like other missions in search of life, it will most likely raise more questions than it answers.